Hi everyone, I'm Nina Bailey and I'm the UK Design Manager at Formica Group. So I've put this short talk together about kitchen design and how that's going to develop over this COVID period and what the outcomes are going to be after COVID. So I was inspired recently when I joined the well-known kitchen designer Johnny Gray in his webinar about the post-COVID kitchen. And he discussed lots of different points about how he sees design changing, and that really inspired me and thought maybe think sort of more about how Formica can be used in the future, and what's so good about Formica is all the different properties it has, which I'll discuss in a bit, and how that's going to sort of really help with the future and be a part of this changing design world. So I'm just going to run through the various themes with you that I'm going to discuss, and then I'll delve into them a little bit deeper in a minute. So the first thing is hygiene. So obviously this is something that's paramount in our lives at the moment, and I believe that it's going to be continuing to be that way for a long time. Then we have personalisation. So how can we add more design and personal touches to our homes? And we're spending so much more time in them. Let's really make sure they're exactly how we want them, and making them more of a sanctuary for ourselves, which should be a really nice way of developing design. And then we have adaptable space. So we've all been doing everything from home over this period, including working, schooling and teaching, dining, relaxing, playing, exercising, and a lot of these activities have been done in the kitchen. It's sort of becoming that hub of the home. So looking at that and how, in terms of all those different things happening in that space, how's that going to change design for the future? And then we've got more storage. So we are shopping less often, but buying much larger quantities, which means storage space is going to be even more important. So we want that optimum storage required in our kitchen. And then we have colours and textures. So we're seeing sort of sensory design being very key, and I think that's going to be pushed further in the future, and people are going to become much more in tune with their sort of own needs, desires and choices within the home, and potentially creating their own trends and themes for their space. And then the last one I've got is essentials only. So this time indoors has made us a lot more aware of how much we actually consume and don't actually use, let alone even want. So this is the time to declutter the kitchen and start really making the most of your space. Okay, so let's delve deeper then. So in terms of hygiene, at Formica, all our laminate materials can really help to reduce the growth of bacteria. So that's a fantastic property that the material has. It's also a sealed surface, so unporous, which is a great property in the product. And then it's also really great, easy maintenance. So all you need is warm, soapy water to clean the product. So that's just a sort of overview of hygiene, and Formica being a really good product to be using for that specific need. We then have the personalisation. So we're in our homes so much more often, as I've mentioned, and we're becoming aware of how the space works for us and how we can make it more personal to ourselves. We're becoming a lot more aware of our sort of needs, dislikes, likes. So we're spending less money as well at the moment. I know I am. It's because we're not going out so much, and shopping, just generally in the store, because we're not shopping generally in the stores. It means that there is perhaps now more of a budget and a desire for us to start improving our homely surroundings. So looking towards things like new designs and things that we haven't seen before. So I think people are going to want to start seeing much more abstract designs, maybe more patterned, think something that's a bit more bold, something more expressive, come through in the kitchen, which I think could be a really exciting time to get that in the kitchen. So looking at things like abstract designs that have the aesthetic of something that's natural but are in fact an artwork. So something a little bit more unique and specifically developed to be appreciated as a beautiful material. So I think there's a lot that's going to be going on with that. I think we're definitely going to be looking at that at Formica as well. We've got the adaptable space. So in these times, we're using the kitchen more and more as that, like I said, the hub of the home. And I think as we spend all this time in our homes, we're starting to see how, in fact, our kitchens could start to adapt with the times. All activities and events are starting to take place in the kitchen, and we start to realise that perhaps we don't always want everything built in and everything to be static. Perhaps we want more freestanding furniture that can adapt and be used in many ways. This was something that Johnny was talking about on his webinar, and I thought that was really an interesting point. So we don't always need the same height of worktop, an island, breakfast bar throughout the kitchen space. All these multiple heights mean that there sort of could be multiple uses within the space. So, you know, just some food for thought, really. You know, if kids are doing homework and you want to be able to sit at the worktop with your legs underneath it, like there's all these different ideas, I think, that we can start thinking about to really make it a much more adaptable room, rather than always just designing it thinking this is where I do the cooking. So that's just sort of food for thought, really. The next one, more storage. So I think with the changes that lockdown of COVID has brought to our lives, we will likely to continue to visit supermarkets a lot less often, but you know, buy a lot more, so enough for 1 to 2 weeks at a time. And this will mean that we need much more storage within our homes. I mean, I used to probably go to the supermarket 3 times a week and just always buy little bits here and there. So storage was never a big thing within my home, whereas now it's, you know, I'm having to sort of figure out all different sorts of ways to start hiding food around the kitchen space. So it's got me thinking that, you know, we are going to really need to have this more storage. So yeah, I think things that will really help are things like drawers. Really, I love having great big drawers in the kitchen that you can just pull out, and they're just really accessible compared to a cupboard, you know, where you've got to like unpack everything, reach to the back. Whereas when you have a really big drawer, you can just pull it out and find what you need, and you can just look down on it, and it's much easier to sort out. So I think drawers can be a really good addition to the kitchen over sort of cupboards. So yeah, just sort of making it really accessible and easy to start sort of getting the things in and out of the spaces. So moving on to colours and textures. So this time has really given us a chance to reflect and made us a lot more aware of our likes and dislikes in our home. So colour is hugely subjective, and it just is, and there's a lot of psychology around colour, and people are just always warmed to different colours than others. So it is such a subjective thing, and I believe that residential home colour trends are going to be something more of the past, and we are going to see people sort of making their own trends and becoming much more instinctive and intuitive when they choose colours for their home, rather than always, you know, being inspired by trends that we're seeing. It's more about what does that colour make you feel, and how's that going to improve your home and your well-being within the home. So I think generally people are going to be sort of drawn to more sort of greyed off colours, calming hues, less sort of bright tones. But then again, that's my opinion, because that's for me what I like. So it's all going to be very, very subjective. You know, some people might really love having a bright yellow because they see it as a cheery, fun kitchen space to be in. But just things like dusky and calming, warm tones of pinks and things, I think are going to keep coming through and being really popular. Saw a lot of those sort of tones at KBB this year. And I think yeah, they're going to keep coming through. You know, pink is a naturally very calming color, and I think with this, you know, big anxiety around COVID at the moment, people want to get some sort of calming atmosphere into their homes. You know, energizing restorative colors of greens, a great addition to the home. Relaxing and meditative tones of blues, just really, you know, beautiful calming tones. There's a whole array of colors, and they all have different ways of making us feel. So, and we all know how we want to feel. So it's just how we're going to start interpreting color, I think, and people are just going to become a lot more aware of that. I think the outside in trend is also going to sort of continue. I think people have become a lot more in touch with their natural surroundings. You know, initially when we were in stricter lockdown, we were just going on walks. So we've all sort of become a lot more in touch with nature, I think. So I think naturally, because of that, we're going to start wanting to draw more of that natural stuff inside. So it's continuing with that outside in thing, which we know has been around for a very long time now, but it's proven to be fantastic. So it's going to keep going. In terms of textures, I think they're going to be a more considered feature than they perhaps have been in the past. Intricate details are becoming a lot more important. I believe that things like matte textures are going to continue to and stay popular with their sort of calming, smooth touch. You know, compared to something perhaps that's really high gloss, it might be, you know, too much, too stark in their environment. But I think just generally people are going to become a lot more aware of what they do and don't like within those sort of tactile areas, and just generally all those sort of things that appeal to the senses are just going to sort of be much more considered when people choose what they're going to have in their homes. So then the last one is essentials only. So we can start to see and realise that things we have in our homes that we never sort of use or even like. So there are all these things that, you know, we just sort of store and think, oh, I better keep that because my aunt gave it to me, you know, 10 years ago. And, you know, we have all these sentimental things and things that we just keep because we feel like we should. But I think in this time, we've sort of become a lot more aware that we actually don't always need them. And it's a really good time to declutter and even just start using things that we hardly ever use. Like, I mean, I've got a tea set that I use every now and again because it's special and it's pretty, whereas it would be so much nicer to just use it all the time. So just sort of thinking about how, you know, you can start getting those things out a bit more and start actually using them and get rid of the things that you don't use because you actually don't like them. So in that way, we'll free up more space for your extra food shops, and also, you know, having some open shelving as well for stacked up plates. I mean, that can look really fantastic if you've got a really beautiful matching set. But also, and then it makes them really easy to sort of get out. It's just making life a lot easier for you while you're spending more time in your home. But also, if you don't have a beautiful set of crockery, you can also, you know, have that sort of shabby chic look and have a mix and eclectic sort of look of different things on your shelves as well. You could just have all your special, in my case, teacups and random plates and things. So that can also be a great look too. So yeah, in light of thinking about the future, at Formica we've developed some new updates for our Active and Prima worktop ranges. So we're going to be launching those soon, so watch this space. And now is really the time to start, you know, getting inspired and start thinking about the changes that you want to make in your home. Start making your multifunctional kitchen. So yeah, I think it's an exciting time for design, and I think there's going to be some changes that are really going to help improve our homes. So I hope this has been interesting, and thank you very much for listening. Take care. Bye.